in the Afghan government, and clearly the fact that our counterinsurgency strategy does not appear to be working, the government's counterinsurgency strategy. What conversations have you had with President Obama, or your efforts to try to convince him to change course in Afghanistan?
Well, we've never talked about that subject. We've talked about more domestic things. But the creation of the Out of Afghanistan caucus is a manifestation of now the growing discontent and bipartisan at that we have in the Congress who fund these wars have got to take another critical look at it because the dissatisfaction is all around us. This isn't a matter of being a military expert or how many times have you been there. This is a question of just simple common sense and good judgment. What's best for our country? What's best for those people who have repelled in Afghanistan every invading country's military that I can recall? What are we doing here? What is the logic? What do we hope to accomplish? Is this lust for empire insatiable? And we who brought Obama to this historic point as the 44th president have a responsibility to speak up and engage him with us, and this is what we're doing.
I was watching Joe Scarborough this morning on MSNBC, and he was saying, where are the anti-war Democrats? They were very loud during the years of Bush, and he said, where are they now?
Well, this is where they are now, and they're going to get stronger. And the whole question is, as you put to me, we've got to start talking to our president, and this is the way that we're going to start it off.
I wanted to ask about the comparisons between Vietnam and Afghanistan. In a recent speech of yours, you quoted the following passage of Robert McNamara, who served as Defense Secretary during the escalation of the Vietnam War. This is McNamara speaking in 1995, 20 years after the Vietnam War ended.
We were fighting, and we didn't realize it, a civil war. Now, true, there were obviously there was Soviet and Chinese influence and support, and no question the communists were trying to control South Vietnam, but it was basically a civil war. And one of the things we should learn is you can't fight and win a civil war with outside troops, and particularly not when the political structure in a country is dissolved. So it wasn't the press that was the problem. It was the problem was that we were in the wrong place with the wrong tactics.
Let me put that question and McNamara's comments to Matthew Hoh, former State Department official in Afghanistan.
Very haunting comments. It's as you look at these two wars and compare them, and you see the nature of the government, you see the nature of the countries, the way the population lives, the differences among the population, the natural schisms that are in the population, and the history of those countries, the modern histories of those countries. There are a lot of comparisons. I mean, I'm hesitant to say it is Vietnam over again, but there are some good comparisons, particularly in the fact that we're backing a corrupt and illegitimate government that is opposed by a good portion of the population, particularly in eastern and southern Afghanistan. The raw Pashtun population is excluded from that Afghan central government and is a rebellion against it. And so that's where you do see those similarities between Vietnam and Afghanistan. I'll also say that you referenced Dan Ellsberg earlier, and if your audience has not seen the Dan Ellsberg documentary, I recommend it. But he talks about being on an airplane in Vietnam with Secretary McNamara. And briefing him that they've gone, they visited all the different provinces, and they have not seen anything good or anything positive. And as soon as they get off the airplane, McNamara tells the press corps that things are going well in Vietnam. And you have those same experiences here. I was aghast. I heard Senator McCain when he was in his opening statement to General Petraeus the other day, saying that it's going well in Helmand Province, that the military has cleared Marja of Taliban, which is completely untrue. So you see some of those parallels, too, with our political leadership in terms of whether or not what they're saying actually reflects the reality of the situation in Afghanistan.
Amy, could I add that
Chairman Conyers.
My work and experience and relationship with Martin Luther King Jr. Leads me to one inescapable conclusion about his work and his legacy. Jobs, justice, and peace. In justice, he meant economic and political justice, and that both of these were a requirement to get to peace. And it was over when he finally broke his silence on Vietnam, and he understood what he was doing and where that might lead him and what it might do to his career. I've been an admirer. I worked with. I loved the man. He's impressed me more than any other. And this understanding of peace, even to the extent of starting a Department of Peace. We've got a Department of War, and it's led us into great trouble and difficulty and caused a lot of suffering and prevented us from doing all of the beneficial things, not only in America, but around the world, that we could be accomplishing if we weren't in this narrow focus of destruction and death and power and empire.
And Congressman Conyers, I'd like to ask you whether the Republicans are constantly talking these days, your colleagues in Congress, about the need to cut the deficit. Do you see any awakening on any part of your Republican colleagues about the enormous cost of the continued wars, and that as a way of being able to reduce the American deficit?
Yes, sir, I do. And you know, these discussions beneath the public level are very informative that we have. Sometimes I had a Republican yesterday say, John, I wish I could join your caucus, but I'm with you anyway. Of course, I've had Democrats say that as well. But more and more are realizing that if you really are a fiscal conservative, how on earth can you continue to allow this incredible costs of the surge in Afghanistan and with a straight face still talk about you're trying to save money and make the government smaller?
Congressman Conyers, maybe you can coin a new term. They're the deficit hawks. Maybe you can be a deficit dove, and you can ask, where are the deficit doves? Chairman John Conyers of the House Judiciary Committee and Matthew Hoh, I want to thank you both very much for being with us. Matthew Hoh, we have 4 seconds. Should we get out of Afghanistan now?
We need to have a ceasefire that leads to political reconciliation.
We'll leave it there at a
that leads to
ceasefire.
reform
Thanks
the
for
Afghan
joining
government.
us.
Yeah.